Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Matthew. In this video I'm going to be talking about my sobriety, and I'm doing it at this time of year because a lot of people are probably attempting to do dry January. If you are, all the best of luck to you. You got this, you can do it. Now before we jump into this video, I do just want to start by saying that everybody's relationship with alcohol is different and everybody will have had different experiences. So if you're watching this and you don't necessarily fully relate to what I'm saying, that's absolutely fine. But you'll find that the different people that you speak to will all have different experiences. But by speaking to one another and by talking to one another, there is always going to be a level of common ground. And I think that we are all working towards the same goal. The other thing that I want to point out at the beginning of this video is that I was not an alcoholic. I definitely didn't have a great relationship with alcohol, but I definitely was more of a binge drinker. Not that that makes it any better. I was someone who was able to go out for one glass of wine, or I'd be able to just go out on a weekend, but when I did drink, sometimes it really got out of hand. And honestly, I have some absolute horror stories about experiences that I've had whilst I've been drunk. You know, sometimes I've woke up and I have absolutely no memories how I've got home. You know, I've woke up in houses I didn't know. I've woke up next to people who I don't know if I can fully trust, but thankfully I do remember going home with those people. So I know that I made a sound decision and I know that nothing I regret happens. Phew. But I've had arguments with friends and family whilst drunk that could have been completely avoided. I've made selfish decisions, I've hurt people around me, and I have done things that I regret. And at a certain point, you just decide that you don't want to be that person anymore. Now, towards the end of 2018, I really started to think about my drinking and how it had an effect on my life. I'd got to a stage in my life where alcohol just wasn't something that I was finding fun anymore. I also realised that alcohol consumption really played into my mental health. Now, whilst I would drink because I thought it would help calm me down and help me relax and not think so much about the constant barrage of thoughts that were going on around in my head, that's not entirely true. Whilst it was a short-term solution, it really didn't solve the problem. The drunker I got, the more my anxiety would start to build up again, and then the next day we'd have what we refer to as anxiety. And I just felt like an absolute mess. I knew that I needed to do something, and I don't think at that stage I thought that I would stop drinking for good. That really just didn't seem like something I was going to be able to do. I was very much one of these people who would be, I need a glass of wine, or I need a drink, or oh my god, I can't wait till the weekend so I can get drunk. Like, I was very much that person. So to completely cut alcohol from my life seemed like such a massive step that honestly I didn't believe I was going to be able to do. In 2019 I started dry January. Dry January, like Stoptober and other months throughout the year, is where people just give up alcohol for the month. I did this because I wanted to, one, challenge myself to see if I could do it, and two, to see if I felt any better after the month had passed. After dry January was over, I felt so much better that I just decided to give up alcohol completely. I decided that I didn't need it in my life anymore. At the time of recording this video, I am 225 days sober. You will notice that that's not a full year, and we'll get into that in a moment. Some of the benefits that I found in dry January that helped me pursue a sober life were I felt better in myself, my mental health was better, and whilst I'm not fully cured, because, you know, that's a story for another day, I do feel a lot better in myself. I'm able to rationalize things more. I'm not able to get myself so worked up. Not all the time, but most of the time. I also sleep so much better. I still struggle to get to sleep. That can sometimes take me a while, but when I do, I'm more likely to sleep through the night. And when I wake up, I just feel fresher a lot quicker. Even on nights when I've not slept particularly well, I will wake up and after a shower, I'm good to go. I am not groggy for the rest of the day. I will be able to get energy faster than I would before. And that's even days after I had had a drink, because the effects of alcohol aren't just a next day thing. They do stretch out. Also, whenever I've been ill or poorly, I've, one, known that I'm ill or poorly because it's not because I'm hungover, and two, I've recovered so much quicker. All of these are fantastic benefits that just allow you to get on with your life and allow you to make the most of your time. I am way more proactive now and I have way more motivation than I ever did before, and that really just helps me get through the day, accomplishing things, feeling proud of things I've done, just feeling better in myself. Now, some of the other benefits you may feel are better skin, you may feel more healthy, and as I said, you know, I do feel healthier, I do feel like I recover better. My skin has not cleared up, but that's because of the amount of sugar I eat. A side note for anyone giving up alcohol, that doesn't mean that you don't crave things. You will maybe crave food. I've been, sugary treats, chocolate, cakes, that sort of thing. They've been my go-to over the last 12 months, and ice cream. And honestly, I don't think that's too bad. I don't eat really unhealthily the rest of the time. That's a major concern for me. But it does mean that, the hopes that my skin might clear up and look a little less spotty, that's not happened. But it does feel nicer. It's got a bit of a bounce to it that it didn't have before previously. I think that's what they refer to it as. Now, if you have decided to give up alcohol and you're just doing it for dry January, or it's something you want to continue on doing, there are several tools out there to help you. Some people find the Dry January app helpful. The Dry January app allows you to mark down days where you've not had a drink. So you can put in a little teacup, and that lets you know that that's another day where you've not consumed alcohol. If you decide to continue on and moderate, you can use the app as well to state when you have had a drink. So if you decide at the 1st of February, I'm going to have a glass of wine to celebrate, but then I'm going to have, 2 weeks of being dry, you can continue to track that throughout the year to see how many days you didn't drink throughout the rest of the year. Some people find this useful as it gives them motivation, having something to tick off. I did this for about 3 months, and then towards the end of the 3rd month, I just kind of felt that I was missing it a lot and I wasn't going into the app and was having to fill in multiple days at once. So I stopped using it, but I definitely found that it gave me the motivation to continue moving on at the beginning. There is also a Dry January community group on Facebook. This group is great because it's going to be filled with people who are trying to achieve the exact same thing as you, and you can support one another. It's also helpful because sometimes talking to strangers is a bit easier than it is to talk to your friends and family who, feel like they know you and might not fully understand why you're deciding to make that change in your life. There's also a number of books available. If you're a fan of reading, or even if you're not, I do really highly recommend them. The book that I read at the beginning of my Dry January journey is The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober by Catherine Gray, and this really helped me. This is the story of Catherine, the author, and her journey from being an alcoholic to being sober. Now again, as I said at the beginning, Catherine's journey may not be the same as yours, but I'd highly recommend this for anybody who is attempting to give up alcohol. Not only is it informative and it allows you to see it from somebody else's perspective that you may potentially relate to, it's also really funny in places, and it really sort of isn't preachy, it doesn't make you feel judged, it doesn't make you feel like you've made terrible life choices. It was just really helpful to sort of read and know what somebody else has gone through, some of the hints and tips that they have for giving up alcohol, and also some of the struggles you may come across. There are other books out there. Two that spring to mind are The Naked Mind by Annie Grace and The Sober Diaries by Claire Pooley. I've not read either of those books, but I have heard great things about them on that Dry January community group, so check them out. Also, speak to people. Early in Dry January, I ended up speaking to somebody who has gone on to become a close personal friend of mine, and they had been sober for quite some time, and they were able to give me lots of advice. They were able to motivate me a little bit, and they were able to really make me see that this was something that I could do. Made me feel a little bit less alienated. So thank you, Arwen, for that, because I don't actually think you know how much of inspiration, I guess, you were to me in those early days. The other thing to state is that this is not going to be easy. There's going to be times when you really struggle because of cravings or social situations that you're in where alcohol is around you. Some people start by getting all of the alcohol out of their house on January 1st. They don't want to be around it. I've been quite lucky in that that's never really been a problem for me. I have been able to be around people who are drinking. That doesn't really bother me. They can bring alcohol to my house. I just always ask that they take it away with them. Not so much because I don't want it in the house, it's going to sit around and probably go a bit flat if it's left here. If I'm being honest, the hardest thing really is going to be other people. Now, this is not to put down anyone who I'm friends with or anyone who, you may know who's, giving you a bit of a hard time, but some people just will have a hard time adapting to this new way you've decided to live your life. I did have people in my life who ask questions like, have you gone mad? Are you feeling well? They don't quite grasp, that actually my relationship with alcohol is now different to theirs. I find it really strange because I've been around people who've give up smoking, for example, and I've been tried to be really supportive of them, and I've said, that's great, well done. If that's something that you want to do to improve your health, then go for it. When you give up alcohol, and I found that this isn't just my experience, people do not have that reaction. People are very against you not trying alcohol again. And then people start to say when you go out with them, like, if you're not having fun, you can go home, or, don't feel like you have to stay out. And it's not so much that you segregate yourself from the group, as sometimes the group starts to push you out. Now, I've been really lucky that even those friends who sometimes I felt like I was going to have a bit of a problem with, they've, managed to be able to have an adult conversation with me, and we've come to an understanding where this is something that I am doing, and it has absolutely no effect on our friendship. It has absolutely no effect on, you and what you're doing with your life. I'm not judging anyone by having a drink, and I think that's important. You've made this decision. That does not mean the decision is for everyone. Another really big thing that can be quite hard to move past is setbacks. Setbacks can be hard because you can sometimes feel like you failed, and that then can have a negative effect on your mental health or your general well-being. It is currently the 5th of January 2020 at the time of recording this, and I am 225 days sober. So you will notice that, as I said at the beginning, is not a full year. In May, I had my first setback. I was at a wedding, and I was actually for the first time having those cravings. I really was feeling that I needed a glass of wine. I didn't really know anyone there. I was meeting a lot of people for the first time, and I was feeling so anxious. I'd become quite withdrawn and actually taken myself off to sit somewhere on my own. I was really having a hard time with it because when I got to the end of dry January, I said to myself, if you want to have a glass of wine, have a glass of wine. Do not beat yourself up about it. And up until that point, I'd had no cravings. I'd been on a holiday with a friend who was drinking the entire time. I had been to parties. I'd been out and about with people drinking on all occasions, and at no point did I had any cravings. When the situation came up, I was suddenly beating myself up about it. And then I was annoyed because I told myself I wouldn't. And then I was annoyed because I felt like I was going to be letting myself down if I did. Eventually, I caved and I had a drink, and I got really drunk that night. I then just continue to drink at social events, but it's really easy to turn anything into a social event if you put your mind to it. I drank pretty much throughout the entirety of May, quite regularly, and by the end of May I was an absolute anxious mess. I think I was holding it together quite well for the people around me in my life, but me and James had some really big arguments that were all caused just by the fact that I was drunk and my anxiety had got the better of me. And that's when I made the decision that I wasn't going to drink anymore. And since the 29th of May 2019, I have been sober, and I did my 30th birthday sober, I did New Year and Christmas sober, and I just feel so much better for it. Setbacks are hard because, as I said, they can have an effect on your self-esteem, and also it's really hard to fall back into that lifestyle of just saying, well, I'm with friends, we're having a good time, and I'm going to have a drink. Once you start that, especially if people have known that you've got back into that lifestyle, then it's really hard sometimes to get out of that rut. And I just had to say to myself and to the people around me, no, this is something that I have to do. To quote my favourite singer, Christina Aguilera, nothing is ever a setback. If anything, it just motivates me for what is next. If you have a setback, you can continue on with your journey to sobriety. So as I said at the beginning of this video, this is just my experience. I know that some people may associate with what I've said, some of you may not, but I hope that some of the advice that I've provided is helpful. Find the resources, Google is your friend. The internet is a fantastic place for finding like-minded people who are going through the same thing. Please note that all of your problems will not be solved by giving up alcohol. You may need to take additional steps, whether that's speaking to your GP about your mental health or any other illnesses that you may have or become aware of. I see people sometimes say, I've given up alcohol and now I've got a cold. Well, yeah, that will happen. Giving up alcohol is not a cure for every disease and illness on the planet. Finally, if you would like to talk to me about alcohol or about giving it up, if you would like any hints or tips, or if there's anything that I've said that you'd just like to know a little bit more about, please feel free to get in touch with me. You can drop me a comment down in the comment section below, or you can find me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Dear Matthew. I'll be more than happy to, speak to you, answer any questions you may have, and hopefully share some of my further experiences with you. Thank you for stopping by and watching this video, guys. This is something that's been quite a journey for me, and I don't mean to blow my own trumpet, but I'm quite proud of myself, and I hope that if you are choosing to give up alcohol, either for the month or for good, you feel the same. I wish you all the best of luck on your journeys. I hope you get out of it what you're hoping to get out of it. But that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like and subscribe to keep up to date with my content, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye now.